skill becomes less important as you move up. And as you come to the very top, it's more about how to motivate people. You know, can you see the bigger picture? You know, can you execute? Do you have achievement orientation? Things like that. And that's what we actually assess. And that's why we can do a CEO for a bank, CEO for a manufacturing company. So we kind of it's across the board. Yeah. We have one question. Yeah.
I run a startup company. Would it be fair to say that then you have to pay more to attract the right people to leave a secure job to come to a startup company?
Absolutely, because the problem is that your EVP is non-existent at the moment, right? You do not have a lot to say, you know, that we are a very successful company because you just started. You might not have the most great location in the middle of Saturn, right? Because you are starting slow. Yeah. Yeah. There you go. In that case, can we just roll this movie back? Can we cut this piece out, right? Because if you are in Servcorp, that obviously is a great value proposition, right? You know that you're actually getting professional help. You know the best place for a service office, you know, it's Servcorp, right? So that is definitely a plus. But yes, when you are a small company, you know your list of why people should join you is not very long, and that makes it really a challenge to get the right people, I have to say. But you know there are people who are willing to take the risk. You know sometimes people have had a clash with their boss that morning, perhaps, you know, and you call it the right time, right? Or there are rumors that the company would be taken over. We love that, right? You know, we start fishing right away on the phone, right? Try to find people who are sort of in that moment of panic. So that could be, but it's difficult for a new startup company.
I'm just going to come back to the same question because I have well, it's not really a contradictory view. It's more of a sort of a different approach to it.
Yeah.
If we're looking at a startup company, it's going to have different objectives. If we're looking at really the sort of senior executive team and you're wanting people who've got a big history behind them, perhaps this is the case. But for people who are coming into specialist positions, they're going to look at the environment of the work. So whether it's a fun environment, if it's a young team and dynamic, then they get a lot of energy off this, and that's quite visual. And so maybe it's not a long list, but the list is stronger in its depth. And so it just depends on the type of position.
Great point, yeah. And I mean, we know that there are many startup companies in Thailand, you know, and they have people, right? So sure, there are people who are willing to take that calculated risk. Absolutely. You just have to find them, right?
Afterwards, it's how to retain them.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Do you have one last question before we close the meeting?
I have a quite stupid question here. I'm not from the big industry, you know, financial or technology. I just run my, you know, little catering company here. But I wonder if the world population is growing up. I mean, more and more people born every day. Why the labor market losing mass? It keep losing its, you know, members.
Why the market is getting smaller over the next couple of years, right?
But people keep you know, leave the market.
Yeah. So the question is why is the labor market getting smaller and smaller? Well, I showed some of the slides there where some reasons would be that, you know, we start families, we get less children, we start families later in life. We get less children. So that's just one of the reasons, or some of the reasons. But otherwise, you probably some other good reasons why this is the case. In China, for example, it's of course the one-child policy that was introduced many years back now, that is now really taking effect, right? You know, and that's why.
This is about like the new graduate like me, turn to the small company. I mean, running their own companies. I mean, like starting their own business.
Yeah.
So the labor market keeps, you know, smaller because of, you know, the newcomers is leaving for their own ways of doing business.
Yeah. No, that's not because the statistics UN has made was made on everybody between 15 and 64, right? So whether you go this way or this way, they looked at the total population and have predicted that. You know, I didn't mention that, but I saw maybe a month back that a news from Singapore where they said that the growth, that net growth, has actually become a, can I say, negative growth, right? So Singapore, at least in the, was it the first quarter of this year, actually already dipped below the line. So the total labor market just contracted a little bit. I don't know the second quarter whether it sort of went back again, but yeah, it's real. Yeah, it's real. I'm just thinking about, you know, in Germany, right, from 64 to whatever 40 million. That is a lot of people in the heart of Europe. Yeah.
I think, by the way, one of the reasons why it will decline is also, I actually work in the UN study, so I know.
Okay. Yeah.
Is that we had a hard growth because we get more women working over the last 40 years. For 40 years ago, it was only men worked, and more women work now. Yeah, and this reached the top. We reached the top that all men and women work. There is not more women coming on board, so there we can only decline. It's in a growing company. If you have 90% of your market share, you can only lose market share. Yeah, it's the same as human work. Yeah.
Fantastic. Can I call you that next week as I'm doing another talk next week? Yeah. Thank you.
From your experience, what are the top 5 values that people in Thailand are looking for when they went to a new company?
They want to have a stable company. That would be one. I'm not sure whether I get the sequence right here, right? But let me just give you 5. Definitely, generally speaking, right? I mean, there's always exceptions, like we heard before that there are people who are prepared to take a calculated risk, right? Just to try something else. But definitely a stable company. That's what we hear. You know, how long has the company been in Thailand? You know, how big are they? How stable are they? Right? That's definitely one thing. Location is obviously an issue also, because if you are sort of in Bang Na and the job is in Ayutthaya, right? That's probably too far, right? So location is always an issue. You know, where exactly is your client located? Definitely the package. You know, people are totally greedy, and you know they think, you know, they can go out and double the salary, as was the case in China many years back. That sometimes is necessary, because if you don't have a long list of employee value propositions like location, good name, and Starbucks and Apple, right? You know, then the only thing you have left is the money, right? And then, you know, you have to add 20%. But if you have all the other good things, you know, then the money might only be 1%, and maybe even a lower salary, because the other things, you know, you're closer to home. I mean, your office and home is closer. There's so many things, right? So stable location, the compensation. It's also whether you report to a Falang or a Thai boss. Many top executives that we call will ask me, before we start, Tom, am I going to report to a Falang or a Thai? And I know why. I said, well, why are you asking? Well, I know the answer, right? Because I've heard it many times. I said, well, if I'm going to report to a Thai, forget me this time. I've been there, I've done that, I'm fed up with that. You know, I'm now working in an international company. I report to a Falang. I love it. You know, much more vision and so on. So that would be another thing, right? They want to know who is the boss, right? What's number 5? I can't remember. Yeah, well, that was 4, right? Yeah, that was 4. Okay, you want to do a little at this time, a lucky draw?
Yes.
Or, yeah?
So,
good. Hey, thank you for everybody. Super questions. And you know, I'm going to be around. So if you have any questions about, you know, what should my salary actually be in my job? You know, how do I make my resume? You know, and how do I resign? Whatever you want to ask, right? You know, just come and see me.
all right. Okay.
But we have a good surprise. I think we have some lucky draws, right?
We do, but first we'd like to really officially thank Tom Sorensen for his time, his contribution and support to Servcorp Business Shorts. So Tom, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We actually have a small gift. Thank you.
Wow.
So on behalf of my General Manager of Southeast Asia, Susie Martin. Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you. Perfect.
Next, last but not least, I'd like to also take this opportunity to express our gratitude with our sponsors. We have Should Be for sponsoring the wonderful food that you see here, as well as Siam Winery for the wine that you are enjoying tonight. So please help yourself to as much as you can take in. But last have 3 prizes, so we're going to see who is going to win this 3 top prizes. So we actually have a lucky draw.
I did break my glasses, so we'll take the first one. Pantipa, is that right? Pantipa.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much. So this is actually a complimentary voucher to using Servcorp Boardroom for your next meeting. Wow. Thank you. Thank you.
Can you take another one?
Definitely. Okay.
Take no.
Yes.
I couldn't read my glasses.
Okay. Well, please enjoy the wine.
Last but not least, I'm going to take this one here. Feels good. Oh, Japanese cooking.